So who am I and what is this double stack thing all about? So here's the whole story. So I graduated from college with a degree in computer science and in economics, and I went to work, had a couple of different jobs, one of which was doing bioterrorism surveillance for the United States government. And I was actually, as surprising as it may seem, able to work from home a little bit during that particular job. And it was also right about the same time that my wife and I were having a baby. And so it was really cool that I was able to arrange for that because I could be at home when the baby was born and people were coming to visit. Everything was going really nice, and except for there was one problem, and the problem was the house was starting to get a little bit noisy, and I needed to figure something out. So what I ended up doing was I went around and bought all of the noise cancellation and noise reduction headphones that I could find that looked any good. And so I had like the Bose headphones and the Audio Technica headphones, and then I came across this one site that was just this mess of a site, the black background and the twinkling stars, and the site was a real mess, but the headphones looked really interesting. This guy named John in Missouri had invented a set of headphones that were made out of these like there's those like headphones that you wear when you're gonna like run like a chainsaw or do something really loud, and he put these studio quality speakers in them. And so I bought those headphones too. And when I got them and compared them with the other ones, I found that John's headphones worked the best for what I needed them for. And so I actually reached out to John and I said, I really like these headphones. And he started telling me about like how he's a drummer and he wanted to invent a set of headphones that he could wear so that he could like listen and hear the other band members without having to crank the volume up in his headphones so loud that he like damages his hearing. So he's like telling me the story behind the headphones and everything. And so I tell him, these are great headphones, but your website is just a mess. Is there anything that I can do to help you, get a better website? Can I build a better website for you? And at the time, he wasn't really all that interested in selling his headphones online through his website because he was selling almost all of his headphones through a music catalog. And so what he said was, hey, if you want to build a website, you can just buy the headphones from me like in bulk at like a discount rate, and then you can sell the headphones from your own website. And so that's what we did. So I started buying these crates of headphones from John, storing them up in my attic, and as they would sell, my wife and I would like box them up and take them to FedEx. And one of the things that was a big question was, how am I going to sell it? And so that's when I got into WordPress. This was like 11 years ago. And I built a WordPress site. And at the time, back then, the e-commerce options were really limited. And I just wanted to be able to put this one product on a page and sell it. Like I didn't have like a huge catalog of products, or I didn't need to sort through a whole bunch of different product categories or sort by price or any of that stuff. I just wanted to put these headphones on the page, but I wanted to have a lot of control over exactly where it was, whether it was a blog post or a product page or just wherever it was that I was talking about the headphones and how they work. I wanted to be able to have a way for people to buy the headphones from there. So I built the Cart66 plugin. That was really the thing that really kicked off the whole Cart66 thing. And so, so we get that, so I get that out there, and the headphones start selling and the business starts growing, and two things kind of happened at the same time. The headphones website really started to get some traction, and I started making $1,000 a month, and then I started making $2,000 a month. And the next thing I know, it's kind of competing with my like real job, and I could make this decision as to whether or not, do I want to, pursue WordPress and e-commerce, or do I want to keep working at the government? And so I decided, this Cart66, the e-commerce, the WordPress thing was really cool. And so that's really when I like started doing WordPress and e-commerce like pretty much full time. And so that was one thing that was happening. The other thing that was happening was people really started to get interested in the Cart66 plugin. And so I started to speak at WordCamps, and it really introduced me to a lot of other WordPress developers. And in fact, Cart66 worked its way all the way up to where Automatic was actually using Cart66 on the WP Swag store, pretty much all the way up until the time that they bought WooCommerce. And so that's a whole nother story we can get into later. But the point is that Cart66 plugin and getting involved with WordPress like that really opened up a lot of doors. And so now we've been, obviously we've continued building Cart66 for 10 years now. And that's really enabled me to talk with like, thousands of WordPress developers, and both kind of in informal settings like at WordCamps, and I presented at WooConf 2 years ago, I think. And just have met a lot of people through that, but also kind of informally, like through support tickets from Cart66 and just kind of in passing. And one of the things that I really noticed was a big problem that sometimes I could, that people were just coming straight out and saying, hey, you know what, I just can't raise my rates. I can't charge the prices that I want. I'm having a hard time, all the business stuff that really is causing problems with people who want to get into the WordPress field and be like a freelancer, but they're having trouble like getting things going, getting traction, and actually, getting the focus in their market and their pricing and their business structure together. People really struggle with that, and it started to get worse and worse. And over the last like maybe year or two, with like Fiverr and with Upwork and with all of this, just this oversaturation in the WordPress economy that's really driving prices down. And then like with like Wix and Squarespace and other really low cost kind of do-it-yourself alternatives, that was kind of putting more pressure onto these WordPress developers. And I was kind of getting the sense of this also through like the tickets that people would submit through Cart66, and I'd try to help people the best I could through these tickets. But really, it was kind of an ineffective form because the Cart66 tickets and so forth are really specifically about Cart66 and WordPress, and not so much about the overall business structure. So at the beginning of this year, I really said to myself, I really would like to be able to do something in a more significant, more formal sense. So I put together the Double Stack program, which really involves two pieces. It's the tech stack to be able to do things like e-commerce and email marketing and drip campaigns and sales funnels and all of that stuff that actually generates revenue, like memberships and subscriptions and digital products and physical products, and all of the things that you can use to actually generate revenue through a website. That's one stack. The other stack is the business development stack. Like, how do you write more persuasive copy? Like, how do you describe what you're actually doing to your clients so that you can connect with them? How do you help your clients get copy on their site? How do you kind of come to the table as a leader that's going to really help your client grow their online business, as opposed to sitting back and just being told what to do, kind of like the outsourced tech team or something like that. But how can you really lead the online business development aspect of your client's business so that you're charging premium rates for a premium service? And so we put together this course, and that's what the Double Stack course is, and that's kind of the history behind it. And so if that's the kind of thing that sounds interesting to you and you want to talk more about it, click on the link up there to schedule a call, or you can just type in doublestack.net/call, and you can pick a time. I've got my personal calendar up there, so you can pick some times that work well with your schedule, and we can just get on the phone for free, one-on-one, and talk about this stuff. And if it's the kind of thing that really that you're really interested in learning more about because you're a WordPress freelancer, a WordPress developer, and you're kind of struggling with figuring out who is your ideal market, what's your target audience, what kind of prices should you be charging, how can you start tapping into recurring revenue to kind of de-stress your life and even out your income, and that's really the kind of business model that scales, because with recurring revenue, of course, every time you get a client, you kind of give yourself a raise because you're still getting paid from the other clients you already have, as opposed to more of that linear approach where every time you launch a website, your income just kind of drops down to zero, and if you get another client, you're just kind of back to where you were. And so if you want to kind of break out of that cycle, that feast and famine cycle and all that stuff, and really get serious about your WordPress business, get some traction, get the right clients that you really want to work with, then let's go talk about that, and we can figure out how we can get that working for you and the type of clients you want to work with and the type of websites you want to build, and like all of that stuff, just put it together for you. So if that's the kind of thing that you want to talk through and kind of explore together, then go ahead and schedule a call. It's free. We'll usually get on the phone for about 45 minutes. We'll talk about your target audience, your pricing, what kind of business packages you can start offering so you can start bringing in that recurring revenue. So if that sounds good to you, schedule a call. And then right after you pick a time, you'll see a little form with a couple of questions where you can give me a link to your website and a couple of questions about, what kind of business you have, what your history is. So I'll know a little bit more about you. So when we get on the call, we'll really be able to pack that 45 minutes with a lot of value for you. So that's the history. That's who I am. That's what Double Stack is all about. And if you want to talk, I look forward to talking to you. So take care and talk to you soon.